Go?
Good to go.
Okay. Let's bring Personnel Committee to order. Nicholson, Dwayne, Slottick, Zima are present. I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Motion by Slottick, second by Dwayne to adopt the agenda. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Approval of the minutes, January 25th, 2016.
Move approval.
Motion by Slottick, second by Zima, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 4, I don't have my glasses. Request to fill the following replacement positions and all subsequent vacancies resulting from internal transfers. A, Senior Property Manager, Community Services. B, Street Labor, Public Works. C, Clerk. 3, Clerk's Office. Can we take all three?
Motion to approve A, B, and C. 4 A, B, and C.
Motion by Dwayne to take, or to have an approval of 4 A, B, and C. Second by Slottick, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Request to approve out-of-state travel. A, Public Works, 2 mechanics to train on commercial and construction equipment, tire selection, usage, maintenance, and repair in Bloomington, Illinois, March 21 through the 23rd, 2016. Maximum cost, $150 for meals, if not covered by the vendor.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve, 5A.
Second.
By Dwayne, second by Slottick, under discussion.
This was budgeted for?
You'd have to ask Lynn Bolin.
Well, actually, it's probably not included in the budget, which is why it's coming forward to you, but it is being paid for by the vendor, so the only cost to the city would be meals. If the vendor doesn't pick them up, we're not sure yet whether or not the vendor would pick them up. But otherwise, it would be, the meal cost would be covered in their budget.
Why
Okay,
would-
just 1 second. Somebody, you got the floor, then Slottick.
My question is, I guess, why is the vendor covering the cost of this to start with?
I'm going to turn to Steve Grenier and let him respond to, as soon as this
Is
is where we
that,
purchase
was that
them.
part of the purchasing agreement?
No, this is Bridgestone Tires, a rather large manufacturer of commercial and other types of tires. They're bringing our staff down to go through some educational components with them, talk to them about tire construction, how to properly select tires for the right application, the proper mechanisms for mounting tire maintenance, and go through recapping with them to help extend the life of the tires that are utilized within our fleet. Most of our heavy equipment tires run about $3,000 to $4,000 a piece. So investing in this kind of training and education is something that's going to pay for itself in a very short period of time. The vendor reached out to our staff offering this training. They will bring our pay for our folks to go down there. They'll pay for the lodging, the classroom time, all of that. We just don't know. There may be some meals that aren't covered. Maximum expenditure would be about $150 for the meals if the vendor doesn't pick it up.
Does that obligate us in any way to
Does not.
choose that vendor in the future? or-
Nope, all of our purchases of this nature go out through a competitive quote process through the purchasing department, so there's no way it could influence the selection of a vendor at all.
Why are they being so generous?
They're as interested as we are in making sure that the right tire for the right application is selected so that we don't inadvertently pick a wrong application and potentially choose a competitor's tire that's ill-suited for our purposes.
Also, it's like a sales job on their
Sure.
on
you wanna think of it that way.
tires.
But there's nothing that could possibly, these folks aren't involved in the recommendation, selection of those. That all comes through me. And we use a competitive quote process in the purchasing department, so there's no way.
Maybe we
they
better
could-
send you.
I'm not particularly interested to go learn about tire composition on heavy equipment.
I know, it just seems kind of unusual. There's tire manufacturers, there's a lot, we have quite a few bid on it, right?
Yes, we do, and I will say that.
They're gonna tell us why we should buy that tire, because it has so many.
Well, not only that, but there is a certain part of sales that goes on with it, but we have seen, especially over the last 5 to 10 years, both with tires as with heavy equipment in and of itself, as the chief talked about during finance committee with turnout gear and the value consortium. Vendors are more and more interested in bringing people in and getting them educated so they're making proper decisions. That decision may or may not lead you to their product, but at least it doesn't disclude their product at the expense of somebody else doing a different type of snake oil sales job, if you will. At least the people making the recommendations are properly educated and we're making decisions on the right basis.
Is there that much difference in tire composition?
Yes.
And how do we spec things then? Some tire compositions are better than others.
To be honest with you, I don't know. That's outside of my area of expertise, but we would rely on training of our senior mechanics and things of that nature. And this is just another means to get additional training.
I guess I'd feel better if it was Consumer Report doing this. But, okay, I don't have any further questions.
Ms. Slotnick? Okay. We have a motion on the floor, Lynn?
Yes, from Alderperson Dwayne, seconded by
Okay, we're under
Alderperson
discussion.
Slotnick.
Okay, any other questions, concerns? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 5B, Police Lieutenant Gehring and Lieutenant Allen to conduct background investigation on a police officer applicant in Houston, Texas, February 24 through the 27th, 2016. Estimated total cost, $1,262. Chief, I'm going to request you to sit with us on this one, please.
Is this stated properly on here?
I believe so, yep.
Because I'm just wondering, you have to go in person to do background checks?
In general, no. This is the guy, basically, he's come up here 3 separate times already to conduct the initial background. This is where we'll be making the final offer on him for employment. We want to go down and talk to his employers, talk to his coworkers at several different places that he's worked, talk to his neighbors, several places where we live. Of course, we could get phone numbers for him, we could get references from him, but we don't think we get as accurate of a detail what kind of person he is if we don't go out to the neighborhoods where he used to live and talk to some of the folks out there.
I mean, where he worked?
He worked, it was a,
So you have some doubts about this person?
no, this is a standard thing we do for anybody. The only problem with this one is this guy lives in Texas now and he spent a lot of his time in Texas. He has some connections to Green Bay, but we would do this on anyone who's applying for a police department job, you know, if they live in.
Do we have to go that far?
Just a minute, back up. I want to interrupt on that. This is a common, when we had that conversation over the phone, Chief, this is not common doing background checks this far away.
It's not common doing background checks as far away, I can assure you
Okay,
that.
I just wanted
What's
that
common
stated
is-
for the record, please.
Yes, sir. What's common is doing the background checks on anybody who's trying to get
Absolutely,
in.
that I know.
Yes, sir.
But we're discussing the out-of-state travel.
Correct.
So Zuma, you have the floor.
Well, I don't know, I just find this one kind of peculiar too, but it's just, I mean, there's a lot of people, this gentleman applied for the job here,
Yes, sir.
did he come here and interview?
Yes, sir. He's come here a total of 3 times already on his,
Three
at
times.
his expense from Texas to interview here. He was introduced to, he has relatives here, he has a connection to Green Bay, and he's lived here for a while, for a period of time, is my understanding. But he served in the military with one of the officers that we currently have in the department, and this officer
So he
had...
made a decision to move to the winter climates?
Yes, sir.
Wait, something wrong with that background check?
Wait a minute now. I made that same decision
That'll be
myself.
the
so yes, sir.
psychologicals, right?
That's right. But what we're doing is we're hoping to go down there and talk to all the people that are familiar with him to get a really good idea of him, because we're really enthused. He's the #1 candidate that we have in our applicant pool right now. He's the top of the list of people in terms of.
How many years of experience does he have?
He served 2 tours, one in Iraq and one in Afghanistan. He's currently a dispatcher. He was a combat medic for a while in the military, in the Army, and then he became a military policeman, where he's both a military policeman and a supervisor of military police down at a base in Texas.
Okay, so he hasn't worked for a police department,
Correct.
it's for the military. so-
Yes, sir.
And you feel like you can't take a check on somebody, take a chance on someone like that?
Well, taking a chance,
He's your #1 person,
he is our #1 person, yes, sir.
just hire him.
Well, I think the fear is that when we go and do background checks in people's neighborhoods, we get information about them that we generally wouldn't get in a regular background check. We talked to neighbors that he may have had a dispute with. We talked to neighbors that may have observed his behavior, or him or a candidate doing something, whether it's in domestic incidents or loss of temper or inability to get along with people. We want to talk to his coworkers, not just the ones that he gives us, but some of the other ones who we may not have got along with. And we think we'll get a better idea who this person is. Because hiring someone for the police department, we take a little bit of a chance at someone if we don't do as thorough a background as we can.
It seems like a little bit of a needle in a haystack here, you know, I mean, how do you really find the right people to talk to? And did you talk to all the right people, you know?
You're right. It is a little bit of a roll of the dice to try and find those people that are connected with him. And oftentimes we'll go to houses where he used to live and the people have all moved and nobody knows him. But just think how valuable it would be to find out that he has, a temper problem that we didn't find out about, or that he's, has some kind of racial issues or anything else, or any kind of bias or prejudice. It would be sure nice to find out about that before he becomes an employee.
Is this standard procedure with all hires?
It's standard procedure to go out to their neighborhoods, knock on doors, talk to their coworkers, interview people that they work with. The issue with this one is that it's so far away.
I've never heard of this before, but I mean, it's been going on a long time, it's been without my knowledge, but not that my knowledge is important or not, but
Well, you get to make the decisions on these. But yes, it is standard for us to do as part of our background, go to the neighborhood. And again, it's no problem if the guy lives in Hayward or Iron Mountain or Milwaukee, because it's a pretty quick trip and we can do it over a series of days. But again, this one is a long trip. This guy's far away, but he is the #1 guy on our list. We think he'd be a good addition to our department if everything we've seen holds true.
this is the first time I've seen a request like this, so, in my 40 years. I just find it highly unusual.
It's probably our first time out of state, except for our chiefs. We have someone in California just gonna stay there.
How good do we check in?
Thank you, sir.
We did a background on him, but we were able to find somebody in California to conduct it for us.
We didn't have any connections in the Houston area that we knew. We could have gone after maybe a private investigator or something like that. That's something that was considered on this. But it's always best, we think, to have our own folks conduct these interviews when we can.
Well, Chief, not that I want to be obstinate to you in any way, because I personally have been impressed by you, like you. But it just seems to me you have a probationary period.
Sir.
What, is it last to a year?
It's a year, yes.
You can't figure out in a year whether you made a good choice or not? I mean, if you're so enthusiastic and you're #1 there, I guess take a chance. You've got a year to make up a decision for yourself. I don't always like to go by what other people say anyway, because people tell me one thing about somebody and they think he's the greatest thing in the world. I find he's the skunk of the first order, and then sometimes they say, oh, watch out for that guy, and I think, I meet him and I say, gee, this guy's really outstanding. You know, it's a pig in a poke to a certain degree, no matter what you do. If you've done your due diligence up to this point, it just strikes me that maybe you have some doubts about this man. He seems good out front, but I mean, this is an extraordinary thing to do.
I certainly agree with you that traveling that far to do a background like this is extraordinary. I think the idea is just to get the best picture of this guy before we take a chance and have him come into the police academy and become one of our employees. We always say if you do a little bit of prevention at the beginning and make sure you have the right person, you don't have to worry about a liability for 20 or 30 years if he's able to make his way out of probation.
You know, I've got to think about it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anybody else from the committee?
I
Alderman Slotnick?
had a similar reaction when I saw this because obviously if Alderman Zima has never seen one of these in 40 years, I've never seen one in 4. So I talked to the president of the Police and Fire Commission to see what he had to offer on it. And one of the things I found out in that discussion was I didn't realize how thoroughly we background check potential police officers. And I understand why. I mean, that the implications of having the wrong person in that job can be pretty darn serious. So what was explained to me was that, as you indicated, we do this with all the officer candidates, but most of them are in state, and the only reason we're talking about this one is because it's out-of-state travel, and obviously it's more expensive to do it that way. But if that's the standard that the Police and Fire Commission has established around the degree of background checking that we do on officer candidates, and I think we need to uphold that standard. So I think the question really becomes not that we would take a chance and hire this person without doing the same level of background check that we do on others. It's really a question of, because doing the background check is going to cost $1,200, do we walk away from this candidate? And I don't think we should do that, so I'm ready to support this.
Anybody else from the committee? Tom?
Yeah, I know, I've been here
Wayne?
10 years, but I know we do extensive reports and stuff like that, and I know we travel a lot. My question is, to help satisfy the committee, I guess, sounds like a couple are on the edge on this. What about sending one person down there? What would that change in the effect of what you need?
You know, it would be a net savings, I just kind of penciled it out, it looks like it'd be a net savings of about $300 if we sent one. We'd still have to have the hotel room, we'd save about $249 on airfare, and we'd save a little bit on the per diem, and of course, we'd save on the salary. But the benefit for having two is twofold. Number one, we're sending our officers out into a bunch of neighborhoods in an area they're not familiar. They'll be dressed in plain clothes, but I always like to have an additional officer for an officer's safety kind of perspective. Who knows what kind of shaky neighborhoods we are going to go and encounter, or what kind of individuals that may be hostile towards us. The second thing is, when you're conducting an interview, it's always best to have one person conduct the interview, and the second person watch for those verbal cues, watch for body languages, try and pick up on the things that maybe the person conducting the interview might miss. We're doing a homicide investigation. It's always better to have two people interviewing the suspect as opposed to one, because they can pick up different clues, they can pick up different things, maybe different tells that this person might be less than honest, and then they can follow up and ask those questions that you're too busy talking and answering questions to, or asking questions to handle. So again, two people is always better. Officer safety is obviously the primary thing, and the difference in pay or cost is not that great.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion to open the floor for interest?
Yeah, you can do whatever you
Yeah,
want.
I'd like to do that if I could, just, sure.
Okay.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion to open up the floor for interested parties, second by Sema. Under discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. The floor is open.
We have some from the commission. That's.
Oh, okay. State your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Barbara Dorff, 3375 Pebble Beach Court, Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I'm one of the police commissioners. So Alderman Sladek stated very well from what Commissioner Goldhahn said to you. I believe you spoke with him. But we spend an incredible amount of time interviewing and reading all of the backgrounds. I actually had no idea when I got on the police commission the amount of time that we would be spending. And every candidate is really scrutinized. And we get sometimes all the way through the interview process with the commission, and something will come up in a background check. The person has done fabulously all the way through, gets high points on our interview, but the background check shows us something, and we eliminate that person. This particular officer I have seen, I have interviewed, I am completely impressed with him. I hope that he can become part of our police department, and I think it's very important to get that final background check, because it's just, we have great candidates and we have great police officers, and we really have a high bar. So we want to keep that bar very high. So I would certainly, as a police commissioner, I hope I would advocate for you to go ahead and approve this. Thank you for letting me speak.
Anybody else from the audience? If not,
You know, I
All
would
right,
just
so
say,
you can wait till we go back.
Yeah, we can go
oh,
back.
okay. Okay. Motion to close the floor.
Second.
Motion by Dwayne, second by Sladek. Under discussion, hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Alderman Nenning.
I would just add that I do remember a couple of times where our investigative team have gone out of state to look at particular candidates. I can't remember the names or any of that.
Do you remember what state, Dave?
I really don't.
So it could have been Iowa, Minnesota,
Yeah,
Illinois, where you could have
I do
drove,
remember
right?
cases, I'm talking 20 or 30 years ago.
Okay.
I do remember cases where our officers did go out, our investigators did go out of state, and I don't recall what the results were or anything, but you know, to me, it does seem like money well spent, and you know, you would be making an exception for someone, you know, that you don't do for other in-state officers. You know, the best thing that could happen is that what they find entirely confirms what you thought, but you know, on the other hand, it could go the other way. So personally, I support it. I think we've done this before. I'm sure we have. You know, the police department does have a budget for investigating candidates, you know, for police and fire. And so you know, there's a budget for it. It is a little unusual here. You know, I guess you know, that's obvious, but I can support it.
Dave, what's unusual?
Well, we probably haven't done it in a while. You know, I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't seen one in the 2 years that I've been on the council.
But okay, so that's the unusual part. You haven't seen this in 2 years.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted that. Confirmed. Anything else, Dave?
No.
Okay. Anything else from the committee?
Yes.
Guy Zuma, Alderman Zima.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know, I'm really uncomfortable with this. I think you've done some background checks already, sir, correct? And was there something that's created a potential doubt?
Not necessarily, but most of the background checks that we've done so far have been people that he's given us information, people that he's provided us a contact for. We've been able to talk to them telephonically.
Superiors?
I believe the officers have. I'm not sure the details of what they've done as far as that part of the background so far. I do know that he's come up here 3 times, and he's scheduled to come up here one more time for his polygraph and for some additional site testing. But the real reason why we go down there is to try and find people that aren't on his list of people that would recommend him, maybe try and get a more accurate picture of the stuff.
Well, what did his superiors say?
I don't have
Nobody
that.
works for it.
I don't know exactly what they said, but everything that my
Don't you
background...
think that's about the most important thing?
Well, like as I mentioned, the reason why we're going there is because everything that has been said about him so far has been positive. We have nothing negative that's come up in any of the interviews that we have. We don't have the specific details of what each supervisor said, but everything has been positive about this guy so far. That's why he's our number one
So
candidate.
you haven't reviewed it very well?
I haven't reviewed the specifics of what his supervisor said, no, sir.
Well, I think you're unprepared there. I just, there is some cost to us to send these people down there, but on top of the 1,262, these people are they going on overtime?
The idea is to use as little overtime as possible, but the other option would be to drive down there, and it would take about 2 days.
I'm not suggesting driving or flying or any other train or boat or any other way. I'm just saying, these are 2 people, they're on duty now 24 hours a day.
Well, no, it'd be an 8-hour shift is what they do. We pay them for the 8 hours. If they did work overtime, we'd have them earn comp time on anything, but they don't get paid around the clock, no, sir.
So they go there and their free time is no longer their free time except to be there. Their families here or whatever, and go without them.
They can do whatever they want on their free time down there. We'd expect them to work 8 hours between the travel time and the interview time that they're doing, canvassing the neighborhoods, things like that.
So they're basically not going to be doing their duties here.
Correct.
And we can do without them.
For the several days there, we think we can get by without them for the several days that they're down here doing this.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Sir?
Mr. Chairman, I guess I'm going to be a little stubborn, and I feel this is an unusual request. I don't think it's been thoroughly reviewed. And I think the most important thing would be what his superiors, the people he worked for, what is their recommendation? If they all say he's a terrific guy, I guess I'd take a chance and hire him and use my probation period. We're not talking $1 million here, but there's more than 1,200. Well, I don't know. Is this over a weekend, or is it during the week, or on 21st, 27th, I guess, is Wednesday through Friday?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Weekdays.
I think if there's such hesitation, if this, maybe this isn't the right hire. If it's not the right hire, there seems to be some great hesitation that they want to really do a extra thorough background check. I mean, normally you look to the people that people work for and what their recommendations are, what they can tell you about the person. I just can't understand why they.
Are you gonna make a motion, or?
Well, the motion has already been approved, I believe.
There is no
I don't think
motion.
we have a
Oh,
motion.
there's no motion?
No, we're under discussion.
My motion is to deny the request.
Okay, there's a motion from Zima to deny the request of 5B. Is there a second? I'll second it, and we're under discussion. Alderman Dwayne?
Yeah,
And Slotnick.
we're not doing anything different. I was the same thing, why we sending two people to Texas, but doing my own background check, and I did talk to a lot of people, and about this, and I was just as dumbfounded as anybody else. But we do the same thing for all our officers that we hire. It's just that this one's in Texas. I mean, we do, we go to Menasha or Fond du Lac or Illinois or Minnesota. I mean, wherever, they're gonna go there. It's just that this one's a little further. And if we keep denying this, and you wanna make sure, you can take a chance if you want, I'm all for that. I trust you and the commission if they pick them and bring them in. But we've done it for everybody that's ever come in. We do this background check on all of them, so.
You're 100% sure of that?
Well, people I talked to, they said yes. Lynn told me.
Well, I don't like things that are just anecdotal.
No, Lynn told me. she
Alderman
told me.
Dwayne, just.
Yeah,
please,
okay,
just-
well, I do.
Don't
I
engage
do
in
know. Yeah.
a debate here with
Yeah,
individuals.
no,
It's just
I-
state facts and
Commission,
concerns
the
and
chief,
questions.
Our director, all of them do get this extension because it is a police department. And it was more extensive than I knew because it's local most of the time, and it's our own people, I mean, closer at home, so we don't hear about it. But when I heard this is what they do on a regular basis for everyone, because it is a police department.
Anything else?
Nope.
Alderman Slotnick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am convinced that just to be clear about what the issue is here, the only reason we're discussing this is because it involves travel outside of the state line. I mean, this is the execution of exactly the background check that the commission applies to every candidate to be a law enforcement officer. And I think they should have high standards. I was surprised when I talked to the commission president about just how involved and how high those standards are. But and he told me that when he first became part of the commission, he was surprised at it as well. And he actually provoked some discussion about, isn't this over the top? But then his experience was that the background checks at the 11th hour did provide some information that caused us to walk away from candidates that we were ready to hire. So I think this is a position where we have to have very high standards when it comes to checking out the background of the candidates. So what we can do is we can deny the out-of-state travel. If we do that, my advocacy to the commission would be walk away from the candidate. Don't lower your standards because we won't let somebody travel out of the state. But I think we should go ahead with this because this is a price of doing business if you're going to look at candidates for officers that don't live in Wisconsin. Thank you.
I'd like to address Chief and the committee here. Chief, we discussed this over the phone for approximately 15 minutes. I stated my reasons why I disagree with it. There's actually two different issues here that nobody brought the second issue up. But the first one was, I brought up my experience. I was hired by LAPD. I had to go there. There was no background check. They talked to basically everybody from letter and also through the phone. Neighbors, recommendations, superiors, bosses, employees, etc. Kansas City, Missouri, also, same thing. That wasn't their policy. State of Wisconsin, Outagamie County Sheriff's Department. Outagamie County Sheriff's Department, 30 miles away. Okay, all four law enforcement agencies, that I was hired were basically, they didn't do the out-of-state travel. Basically, it was just Missouri and Los Angeles. Now, did they do that for you when you were hired in '88? I was hired in '90.
In '88, I do believe they came to my neighborhood I was living in San Diego at the time.
Okay,
So they came
but not
down
Green
there.
Bay, Wisconsin,
Correct.
where I was. They did not. I had my report papers for that following November for the academy, and they did not. They just they just accepted everything over the phone and through, I guess, through the mail system, the United States Postal Service. Another issue that I brought up with you, Chief, that was different was why 2 lieutenants? Now, did anybody ask yourselves why 2 lieutenants? Chief, I asked why not the individuals that were doing the background checks that are in that division? And you told me, tell me if I'm wrong, but you told me that the 2 individuals didn't want to go. They didn't want to do this. Am I correct?
That's basically it. We
Okay,
have,
now, just hang on, Chief. My opinion was, you're in personnel to do a job. You're supposed to do the background checks, the interviews, everything. I don't understand, being in 4 different police departments, how you can tell your boss you don't want to do your job. I don't want to go. And the chief responded because they're going to be away from their families. Well, I stated, they chose to be a policeman, didn't they? They weren't forced to be a policeman. They chose to, and they knew what the advantages were and the disadvantages of a policeman were. And we went over the long hours, different shifts, the dangerous episodes that might happen, the boredom, and actually, when you volunteer for a division, you know what you're getting into, because you're going to be an experienced officer 2 to 10 years, basically, to get in personnel. Correct?
yes.
You're not right out of the academy,
Correct.
right into personnel, so you know what you're getting into. So, I don't understand why we're sending 2 lieutenants when we have 2 people in the division that are doing the backgrounds that should be going instead of the 2 lieutenants. Did I miss anything, Chief? Could you respond to that?
Sure. A couple things. One is the decision to send lieutenants occurred before I got there. So
That
it's
I
not-
know. This, okay, and just for the record, this came from Chief Lewis, not Chief Smith, this whole ordeal. He's just holding the bag on it, but go ahead, Chief.
Thanks, sir. So that decision was made. A couple things about sending officers. I really would think we'd want to get people that were at least willing to do it and not going there against their will. I think we might not get as good of investigation or as thorough investigation if we were sending people there who weren't willing to go down there and do it, that didn't want to go down there and didn't want to be there. In my conversations today about that, they suggested that if the officers were to go down there, they would probably request overtime for the entire time period they're down there, not just the time that they're actually working, but being away from home and staying somewhere else. They would probably have requested to be paid overtime for that entire time period. I don't know how that would shake out with the grievance procedure, so that's something that I'll have to learn the intricacies of.
They're not lieutenants, is what you're saying.
Correct, they would be police officers. The other part is, I have a little bit of a problem
And you
with
did stay 8 hours a day.
8 hours a day would
Okay.
be, the work would be expectation of work.
Right,
but
8 hours,
But
okay.
the concern that was brought to me after that was that they would probably put in for overtime for the entire time that they were gone there, from the time they left to the time they came back.
And the lieutenants could put in also, correct?
Well, lieutenants, I wouldn't do that, and I've talked to lieutenants that are going, and they plan on working their standard 8-hour days. If they go for 8 hours while they're doing the investigation, they'll request compensatory time off for that afterwards.
Okay.
The other part is on sending police
So they would
officers-
get comp time?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
But not for the entire time, just for the hours where they're out canvassing neighborhoods and conducting
Okay.
interviews.
all right.
The other part is, I have a little bit of a problem with police officers conducting background investigations on police officers. I'm fine with them doing background investigations on some of our civilian employees, but I really think it's less than ideal to have a police officer doing an investigation on a police officer that they're going to be co-workers with down the road. When you're doing these investigations, you come up with all kinds of things about people, about their family, about their background. And I really would prefer that that information be kept with the supervisors who are supervising these people, and not be the subject of something that maybe 2 cops in their locker room or cops out on a call have information about people. You find out things doing in the background that could be potentially embarrassing, things about their family, things about their behavior in the past that might be something that they don't want their coworkers to.
But Chief, lieutenants, are they officers?
They're sworn personnel, yes, sir.
Okay. I don't see the difference.
Well, because they have.
Because lieutenants talk also.
Correct.
Basically, every cop in every police department talks. It's a soap opera. I've been 4 different police departments. They're all soap operas. So I disagree with you there, Chief. But go ahead.
I would like to think that our supervisors are held to a higher standard, and that where they get information in an investigation of that nature, they would keep that kind of information to themselves and not share it with rank and file officers that are out there.
Okay. And
So-
then would the line share that with management also? I mean, the line? Would they be sharing that information? I mean, you would hope they would be doing that
I
also.
would hope that nobody would share information like
Absolutely.
that. That information they get in one of these investigations is not
But
shared
it doesn't
by
happen,
anybody.
Chief. With my experience, it doesn't happen, but go ahead.
Okay, well, that's all. That's all. The only point I wanted to make about the police officers.
Okay. I guess that's the couple issues I have. My background checks, they were never lieutenants or sergeants, they were all patrol officers that were in the division of personnel. I mean, it couldn't have been any different between the 2 years where you got hired with LA and I did. They weren't lieutenants and captains.
I'm not sure who the people that canvassed my neighborhoods were, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Back in the day. I know that the people that I talked to and did my interviews were sergeants and detectives that conducted my interviews.
Okay. All right. I'm done. Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, sir.
I say we vote on this one and then,
Zima has the floor. Zima? Right, Alderman Zima?
I'd like to just share something from my experience. I can remember a number of times over the years, probably longer ago than more recent, but were debates on the council about trying to hire within your community. Try to hire people that were taxpayers of Green Bay or lived here, especially with police people that know our community, that have a more of a familiarity, etc. And sometimes when you go outside, it's because you want to shake up a department or something like that. I don't know if that's why they brought you in here or not. Because sometimes you promote up the ladder and everybody, you know everybody, it's hard to discipline people you know. But if this is truly just a one-time exceptional thing, that I could live with. Because you had some, don't you have other candidates? You have a list of how many candidates? 20?
Actually, right now we have a list of several hundred people that are in basic different stages of the process, sir.
That have, and how many have really reached a pretty good level of?
I think there's about a dozen that are in that final pool right now, of which this gentleman is at the top of that.
And this is for one position.
There's I think 4 or 5 positions that we hope to fill. This one would probably be starting June 1st.
I don't know. I'd say hire one closer to home. You have other good candidates. There's no one guy that's going to make all the difference in the world. I mean, this isn't Hollywood where you have super cops that went around with mechanical arms and stuff like that.
Agreed.
It's just, I want to start some kind of precedent where we're going to start doing nationwide searches. I mean, I feel if we've done background checks to the normal extent, and you have confidence in this person based on interview and what contacts you made, I think you should just take the chance and do it. If you're really that high on it. Otherwise, I'd say pass on it and go to the other qualified people. Why are we spending this money? This is not something I want us to make a habit of. But if this is just an oddball thing that's kind of a once in a blue moon type of situation, and you're really that adamant about that quality control going to that level, I mean, I guess I'll live with it. But you hear it's last minute again. That's the other thing that bothers me. But we're supposed to leave this week, and it's just coming before us now. Is it even going to go to council?
Man,
Yes?
How could this happen?
Well, we just became aware of it on Thursday evening. I talked to you on Friday. There is an exception in the policy,
Right, we discussed that. but
right?
I
And you
didn't-
said to put it on the agenda, so that, I
I thought it
didn't
was
know anything.
the Thursday.
Because normally what we say isn't final anyway.
So,
No, that's common practice. I've seen this before.
What?
Well, they forget to put it on the agenda, and they're leaving the week of or before the council's final approval.
Well, we've done that 5-6 times this year.
Well, I know, but no, I mean, they put it on the, I'm not talking about accepting it, Tom. I'm talking about putting it on the agenda. It's already in place, and then they put it on where the final action is city council. I know that's common practice.
Well, that could be on me. I didn't know that this.
No, I
had
mean,
to
this
be
is
a part of-
Lewis. This was Chief Lewis.
I didn't know that this had to be on the agenda here, so I was,
Well, didn't Chief Lewis notify you, Lynn, that?
no. The first that we were aware of that this was happening, to be honest, was on Thursday.
Is that when I called
Take it out of
Captain
his last
Warwick?
Paycheck then.
And brought to the attention?
I think the
Maybe it
issue.
wa- maybe the intentions weren't even putting it on the agenda until I called Captain Warwick and I heard it on the news.
And I don't know the answer to that, sir, but maybe my understanding that this Kuiper travel was gonna come out of the travel, or we have a budget every year for
Right.
training and travel, and I believe it was gonna come out of that.
Yeah, this is all for now. We're talking about pennies here. Normally, we're giving $50,000 away. We gave $66,000 away for this. This is ridiculous. I understand, I was against the whole thing when I first went out about it. Alderman Zima, if you would, you don't have to, but I'm asking you, I mean, in good faith here. It's gonna be 2-2, and then I'll make a motion to pass. What I would like to see is, let's get this going, and ask the chief for the future to make sure that you, by the time we come up with, even if it takes you a month, to set the standard of how you're gonna proceed with doing this. So we have a procedure that who's ever on this, on this committee will understand the procedure that you're gonna bring forward.
Okay, and that's for all travel out of state or all travel by
Yeah.
plane?
Yeah, I mean, just how you're gonna run your office. You're the new chief, and how
Sure.
you're gonna run it. You're not gonna be like Chief Lewis, who just, he brought it up.
Fill the chair for.
Yeah, and so,
Art Scannell,
I'm
they all
asking that
did.
we get this going, and so we can proceed. That's the right thing to do, it's $1,200. It's not gonna add a penny to anything. It's already in his budget, and this way, Chief can come back and let us know how he's gonna proceed in the future with these type of things.
I guess, my opinion, it's not the dollar amount. It's the procedures, the way that this has been handled. This doesn't happen. I mean, this is like Mr. Benning said, this is unusual. You have extensive backgrounds. Okay, you have very professional officers in the personnel division. You have to rely on them. I guess that's my opinion. And you have a probation period. You can weed anybody out. I mean, you have the tools, chief. To me, it's not the money. It's sending 2 lieutenants, because basically, my opinion should be the 2 individuals that are in the division and not lieutenants, and they refuse to do their job. To me, that's not subordination. To me, it's just like, well, Officer X, today you direct traffic. No, I don't want to do that. How can you substantiate that? I just can't. With the experience that I have and what I went through, I just cannot accept that. Excuse me, gentlemen, I cannot accept that. That's one issue. The other issue is, this is unusual. So, I guess, I mean, that's my opinion. I can't support it. I discussed this with you over the phone,
Yes, sir.
chief. Like you say, it's too bad that Chief Lewis went ahead and basically had this all approved within the police department. And like I said, you're holding the bag, so I can't accept this. So, anybody else? If not, we'll take a vote.
Well,
The motion is to deny.
Right.
could I ask the question? See
Yeah.
that whether we passed it or didn't pass it is immaterial. Because whatever our decision is, it has to be approved by the council. Or is there
I
exceptions?
think because it's under a certain total amount, I can sign off as council president. I'm not positive on that.
Yes, you can.
I can, because it's
You,
under-
the mayor,
yeah.
and
Yes.
and the chair of the personnel committee.
Which I will
Right.
not.
Yeah, but we just need 3. We don't need all 4.
Two.
I know,
2 of 3.
Well, yeah, 2.
2 of 3.
Yeah.
And then why do we need the personnel committee member then, or the chairman?
Well, so
Okay,
I'll
well, I
make the
mean, if you
rules.
want to bend the rules of government, that's fine with me. I know how the mayor does it quite a bit, but you want to go along, Alderman Dwayne, that's fine. I'm not going to sign off on it because it's not right. And I'm not going to get along to go along, or to go along to get
I
along.
understand.
So I'm not going to
I
support
need to get
this.
upstairs.
It's principle. Alderman Zima?
I have 2 last questions. How important is this to you?
Well, it's very important to me that we get top quality people in this position. And it's very important to me that
Well,
we
that's true
conduct.
no matter who you hire though, right?
I agree, and it's
How
very
important
important.
is it for you to go to see this person?
I wouldn't
Is
feel
it that
comfortable.
important that we have this person on staff?
I wouldn't feel comfortable hiring this person for the police department without this background check.
But you feel it's, what you know about the person, you really think this person should be part of our force?
Based on the conversations I've had with the Police and Fire Commission, based on my conversations with the officers who've spoken to this guy and interviewed him, and based on what I know about this guy's background, being an Army medic, combat medic, and working as a military police officer, I think he'd be a fine candidate if he could pass this part of the background. To be honest with you, if we can't conduct this background in him, I'm quite frankly not interested in this guy. Because I feel strongly enough that if we don't go there and talk to the people that he doesn't know we're going to talk to, or that aren't prepared to talk to us, then I wouldn't be interested in hiring this guy.
And then I guess my last question is that, is the money already spent for these tickets and stuff?
I believe the tickets have been purchased. I don't know if they're refundable or not.
What do you know about this? I mean, if the money's already been spent, then it's kind of an object lesson here. And we just say, don't do this again.
You've been saying that for a long time, haven't you, Guy?
Well, you don't like to start off the honeymoon with a kick in the
It was a
butt.
very valuable lesson for me, sir.
But the tickets have been paid for already?
I don't know, I'm
I
just
believe the
assuming
tickets have
they
been
probably.
purchased. I don't know whether they are refundable.
They
How
have
much were the
been.
tickets?
Alderman Nicholson just found out Thursday.
Yeah, I know, last week.
Tickets were, for
Already
both of them
purchased.
was $449, so
Well,
Who's wagging the tail here?
that's
Those are
pretty,
probably non-refundable tickets.
probably a direct flight from someplace.
Well, I agree with just about everything Alderman Nicholson said, probably except, the officers or the lieutenants. Live or
I'm just
die
going
with
by
that- live or
my
die with that
experience,
one.
that's
I
all.
understand. I don't like this saying, but if this is just really an exceptional situation, I sure don't want us to be doing nationwide searches for officers. I think we should be, but I mean, this guy applied. And we were impressed with him, so much so that we wanted to hire him, and I guess, $1,262 would be a lot more than that just to hire an officer. So I'll cut you some slack. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I
That's
agree
all
with
right.
you, but I
Been
just
backstabbed
think,
before.
this is an object lesson. We'd be cutting off our nose to spite our face, I think. Just throw away the money. We've spent it basically, so go and sin no more.
Yes, sir. And I will come up with a procedure so that we notify you properly in advance before any travel of this nature takes place on any kind of backgrounds. And I'll make sure it's done prior to any council meeting. So if you have any issues with it, we'll make sure that it can get on the agenda and you will have an opportunity.
Make sure that's in the minutes then?
Yes, sir.
And so then I would withdraw my motion then.
Then I'll make the motion to deny. Lack of a second, I'll entertain another motion.
Can I just make a statement? Alderman Nicholson, I agree with you. I talked to you guys. I agree with everything, but I'm not going to blame Chief Smith. We need to go forward on
No,
this.
we're not blaming Chief
Make a motion
Smith.
to approve.
Okay, motion by Dwayne to approve, second by Slotnick, under discussion. Alderman Slotnick,
I guess I'd just like to add that I think maybe the follow-up discussion doesn't need to be with us and the chief, it needs to be with us and the police and fire commission. Because they have set the standard of what level of background checking they do, and the hiring is their responsibility. So if we're going to, if we're going to tell the police and fire commission that under no circumstances will we approve out-of-state travel, and if they're going to hang to their standard of wanting to do background checks, then they just won't, then they may as well dismiss any applications from out of state. I just want to be clear about, I don't think this is so much the chief's doing, is we have another body that has responsibilities to do the hiring. And that body has got certain standards. If we don't support those standards, we ought to talk about them.
Well, I don't know if it's the standards that we're objecting to, other than, the out-of-state part.
That's basically right. I mean, you keep the background checks. You can do background checks from any type of device, phone, letter. We're basically, Tom,
You're never sure.
talking about
really.
out-of-state
That's why you have a
travel.
probation period.
Yeah, so
And-
why would,
and I
we're not
think
gonna,
that is the issue before us, is whether we're going to permit out-of-state travel. That's the only reason it's on our agenda.
Okay, I didn't hear out-of-state travel when you were giving the rebuttal, so.
But if we're,
Okay,
my point is, if we're going to say this is not the sort of thing that we're going to permit any out-of-state travel for.
okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
Then we
out-of-state
should
travel.
communicate that to the commission, because that's going to affect their policies and the way they work.
Okay,
And they may want to talk to us about that.
sounds good. You want to put a communication in?
I guess I'll talk to the commission and see if they want to have the conversation with us.
Okay, sounds
Well,
good.
we can't really tell them what to do. We can
No,
only
no.
control them through the purse strings, so.
That's right.
Well,
So,
and even there, all we control is whether the travel is out of state.
Yeah.
They can burn up all the money they want in state doing all these background checks, and maybe they do. I mean, the only reason this is on our agenda is they're crossing the state line. But I do support going ahead, so let's vote on the motion.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Nay. So, report number 6, report of routine personnel actions for regular employees.
Move to receive and place on file.
Motion to receive and place on file by Slottick under discussion, or second by Zima under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 7, update and discussion on labor negotiations.
I do have an update that I'd like to, so if we could just go in a closed session, it shouldn't take very long.
Right?
All right,
I move to go into closed session for the update.